when the sinking of the RMS Titanic occurred in 1912. The immediate focus was on survival: who made it, who did not, and how the event unfolded. Please subscribe. But as the years passed, a different story began to emerge. It was the story of those who lived on, the survivors who carried the memory of that night for decades, becoming living links to one of history's most famous events. Among these individuals were people who were very young at the time of the disaster. Some were children, too young to fully understand what was happening, yet old enough to remember fragments of the experience. As they grew older, these fragments became part of their identity, shaping how they saw the world and how they told their stories. One of the most well-known long-living survivors was Milvina Dean. She was just an infant when the RMS Titanic sank, making her the youngest passenger on board. Because of her age, she had no direct memory of the event itself, but she grew up knowing that she had been part of it. Over time, she became one of the last surviving links to Titanic, representing a connection between the past and the present. Another notable survivor was Barbara West, who also lived for many years after the disaster. Like others who survived as children, her experience was shaped by both memory and the stories shared by those around her. She lived a long life, carrying with her a quiet connection to the event. There were also survivors who were adults at the time and who went on to live long lives, sharing their experiences in interviews, writings, and public discussions. These individuals provided valuable insight into what had happened, offering perspectives that helped historians and the public understand the event more clearly. What makes the longest living survivors particularly significant is the role they played in preserving memory. As time passed and the event moved further into history, their presence kept it connected to the present. They were not just sources of information, they were witnesses. Individuals who had been there, who had experienced the moment firsthand. Their lives after the disaster were shaped in different ways. Some chose to speak openly about their experiences, becoming part of documentaries, interviews, and public events. Others preferred to remain private, carrying their memories quietly. There was no single way to live with such an experience, and each survivor found their own path. As the years turned into decades, the number of survivors gradually decreased. Each passing marked the end of a direct connection to the event. When one of the longest living survivors passed away, it was not just a personal loss, it was the closing of a chapter in history. The passing of Milvina Dean in 2009 was particularly significant. With her death, there were no longer any living survivors of the Titanic. The event had moved fully into the realm of recorded history, no longer connected to living memory. Looking back, the stories of these survivors highlight the lasting impact of historical events. The Titanic disaster did not end when the ship sank. It continued through the lives of those who survived. Their experiences, memories, and choices became part of the larger story. They also remind us of the importance of preserving history. As long as survivors were alive, the event could be understood through their voices. After they were gone, it became the responsibility of records, research, and storytelling to keep the memory alive. More than a century later, the RMS Titanic remains one of the most studied and remembered events in history. The longest living survivors played a key role in shaping how that story is told, providing a human connection that no document or artifact could fully replace. In the end, their legacy is not just about how long they lived, it is about what they carried with them. A memory, a moment, a connection to a night that changed history. And through their lives, the story of Titanic continued, not just as history, but as lived experience.